Do that. Do that first then.
Meet Jim Clements. Can you believe he's 100 years old? He started working at this security firm in Harlow at the young age of 66 when he couldn't get on with the idea of retirement.
I got so bored at home, the wife said, for God's sake, go out and get a little job.
Now, yes, Jim Clements may be British, but he does represent a trend that's booming right here in the United States. That trend is baby boomer retirees going back to work, or in some cases, never stopping to work in the first place. And not always because they have to, but in many cases because they want to. So the questions become, what are the hot job markets for workers over 65 today? What are the pros and cons of working through retirement? Yes, it's time once again to tune out the hype and focus on the facts. Facts that matter to you, the income generation. Let's get started. Get ready to separate reality from myth.
With us, David Scranton.
David Scranton.
David Scranton.
David Scranton.
But David Scranton says, hey, not so fast.
How does it affect the markets? How does it affect the economy? Thanks to efficiencies and new technology and a staff of veteran analysts and portfolio managers, Sound Income Strategies strives to set new standards and bring institutional style investing to your portfolio. Hello, I'm David Scranton. On a recent episode of The Income Generation, we examined the many ways in which baby boomers are changing traditional notions about retirement. Today, we're going to look a lot more closely at one of these trends, and that is boomers choosing to continue working during their retirement years. Now, whether staying with their current job, starting a new business, or working part-time, boomers are staying active in the workforce in record numbers. On today's show, we'll examine reasons behind that trend, hot jobs for older workers, and the various benefits and possible drawbacks of working through retirement. And joining us with their expert insights are Kerry Hannon, author of the book Great Jobs for Everyone 50 Plus, and good friend and financial advisor Al Caicedo. But first, let's take a closer look at the upsurge in older workers and some of the reasons that it's happening. A recent study by Merrill Lynch and a group called AgeWave surveyed more than 7,000 pre-retirees and retirees from all walks of life. This survey found that nearly half, 47%, reported that they have worked or plan to work during retirement. An even greater percentage, 72% of baby boomer pre-retirees, said that they want to keep working after they retire. The report also found that retirees who continued to work in some way, shape, or form felt far more stimulated, far more connected to others, and proud of their lives, more so than retirees who just completely stopped working. What's more, respondents to the survey resoundingly agreed that working in retirement helps them stay more youthful and maintain their physical and mental abilities. It's obvious that one driving force behind the trend of working retirees is that many feel that work provides them with a better quality of life than they'd have if they just stopped working altogether. Other studies have supported this idea, concluding that the mental stimulation and the physical demands of a job can go a long way toward ensuring good health and prolonging life for many individuals. For others, the motivation is not so much about health. It's about the desire to take on new challenges or to fulfill old dreams. In the Merrill Lynch study, nearly 3 out of 5 working retirees said that they saw retirement as a long-awaited opportunity to transition to a different line of work. The choice to do so, they said, was not financial. Rather, it was to embark upon a more fulfilling career, specifically one that offered more flexibility, more fun, and less stress. The study concluded that millions of people now see retirement as a chance to try something new, and in many cases even pursue career goals and objectives that they're unable to explore during their core career. It should come as no surprise then that the largest number of successful entrepreneurs in the United States today are people in their 50s and 60s. In fact, working retirees are now 3 times more likely than pre-retirees to be entrepreneurs. This growing segment of the workforce has actually been labeled retirepreneurs. The top reason they give us for starting their own business is to, quote, work on their own terms. After a lifetime of working for somebody else, many boomers say that they relish the chance to be their own boss once and for all. According to a Gallup study, 32% of boomers said that they chose to start a business in order to become independent, while 27% said they wanted the chance to pursue their personal interests and passions and hobbies and things like that. So naturally, there are financial incentives to entrepreneurship as well. Owning a successful business can generate additional income that can be smartly incorporated into your broader financial strategy. Now, of course, not every business turns out to be successful, but studies do show that there are certain ways to help improve your odds of success should you decide to become an entrepreneur, or as we call it, a retirepreneur yourself. For example, many successful retirepreneurs launch a business based upon the knowledge and experience that they've accumulated over the lifetime of their work. In other words, they stick with what they know and what they're good at, simply recasting in a way the job that gives them more control and more flexibility. For example, a retired teacher might launch a tutoring business. A retired police officer might offer seminars and workshops on personal safety or start a home security business. A retired sales manager might take a product he loves and sell it part-time. Now, of course, not everyone's area of expertise is limited to his or her career. Many people have lifelong hobbies and interests by which they've accumulated knowledge and skills on par with professionals working in the same field. If that's the case, you might very well be able to turn your hobby into a business opportunity and have another built-in component for success, and that is your love for the subject matter. If your passion has always been fishing, for example, you might get a job as a fishing guide or a seller of fishing gear. If you love cooking, you might work at a kitchen store or as a personal chef. If your grandchildren are your passion, you could consider working with other children as a nanny or part-time teacher. The fact is, almost any job, any hobby, any area of expertise can be turned into a business opportunity after retirement. However, experts do caution that it's important to understand the dynamics and demands of running your own business, and that you're realistic about the financial prospects and your needs. Coming up, we'll take a look at some other popular options that baby boomers are pursuing today to stay active, fulfilled, and in some cases, very well paid in the workforce. We'll also discuss how companies are making changes to embrace and to capitalize on this trend. Right now, it's time to welcome our first guest, Kerry Hannon. Kerry Hannon is a nationally recognized expert and strategist on career transitions, entrepreneurship, personal finance, and retirement. She's a frequent television and radio commentator and a sought-after speaker for conferences around the country. Her work frequently appears in the nation's top publications, including Forbes, the New York Times, and USA Today. She's also appeared as a career and financial expert on The Dr. Phil Show, NBC Nightly News, and many other programs. Her best-selling books include Love Your Job, The New Rules for Career and Happiness, and Great Jobs for Everyone 50 Plus, Finding Work That Keeps You Happy and Healthy and Pays the Bills. Kerry, welcome to the show.
Lovely to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Of course. You know, you've been quoted as saying that, we should retire the word retire. What makes you say that?
You know, David, this is a time in life where I think of retiring as a time of stepping back and moving backwards into something. And now with the longevity and longer lives, this is really a time in our life to step forward and embrace doing new things that maybe you didn't have a chance to do in the earlier part of your career.
Yeah, we're talking earlier in the show, as you heard about, the reasons people do this, and a lot of it's got to do with self-fulfillment, goals, hobbies, and so on and so forth. What do you think are some of the biggest that you've seen in terms of non-financial drivers that cause people to want to go back to work once they so-called retire?
Oh my gosh, the biggest thing is the social engagement. I swear, when people step away from the workforce, they go into a depression, they grieve their old job, their old identity. And this is an opportunity to really, stay active, be part of a community. And actually, as you just mentioned, it's a great opportunity to get involved with people who are doing something that's meaningful to you and maybe making a difference in the world as well.
Tell us a little bit about this thing that's called your fitness program.
Oh my gosh. All right. This is my favorite. Anytime, okay, this is a stage in life where you're thinking about maybe you're shifting gears to go do a new kind of work or maybe even start your own business. But what it is you need to have three things in order to make a successful shift at this stage in life. You need to be financially fit. You need to be physically fit and you need to be spiritually fit. And by the financial fitness, I mean you need to be lean and mean, pay down debts. This can take a little bit of time, plan ahead to do this, but you may want to downsize your living situation. Anything you can do, start with doing a budget of where you can trim back, but anything you can do so that you can be lean and it gives you opportunities, because debt is a dream killer. Debt is really money is the number one stumbling block to people trying to find work that means something to them in this stage in life. Physically fit, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Ageism is alive and well in the workforce. And if you can be physically fit, it's better than Botox. You're giving off this energy, this vibe, this can-do spirit. And employers don't know what that is, but they want it. They want to be around you. People like being around you. And spiritually fit, I don't mean woo-woo religion. I'm talking about having a place of ballast in your life where you can be centered, because making change can be really stressful.
Now, people always say they feel mentally sharper when they're back to work. They feel physically sharper. Have you seen any studies, quantified studies, that back that up other than just how people feel?
You know, there have been lots of studies, you know, anecdotally as well. There was a big French study that was showing, you know, kind of the use it or lose it, even showing how work can stave off Alzheimer's and other sorts of dementia. It really is important, and we know this, by using your brain, staying active, and physically and mentally, it really adds to the quality of your life. And, you know, it's really just overall can have these other benefits moving forward.
So we're going to take a commercial break. As soon as we come back, we're going to talk to you about some of the mistakes that people over age 50 make, whether the mistakes they make that force them to work later in life, or the mistakes they make when they're actually looking for work or they're trying to stay active later in life. So stay with us, Kerry, please. And you stay with us, too. We have much more from Kerry Hannon right here on The Income Generation.
David J. Scranton, Amazon bestselling author, money manager, and national TV host, is on a mission to educate baby boomers about the need to shift from growth to income. If you're at or near retirement, focusing on income over growth can make all the difference in the quality of your retirement. Each week, David educates America on his Newsmax TV show, The Income Generation, where he provides special reports and more to teach baby boomers about the income model. Call now for your free income kit from the Retirement Income Store, where baby boomers go for income.
Read David J. Scranton's groundbreaking new book, Return on Principle, 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad. Discover practical solutions to the financial challenges facing today's generation of retirees and near retirees. Learn the truth about Wall Street, the financial media, and the secrets they try to hide from everyday investors. This isn't just another book about investing. Working Americans who have lived through 2 major stock market crashes and the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression in the past 16 years don't need another book about investing. David Scranton's approach to financial planning is a holistic system designed for maximum protection, strategic growth, and reliable income regardless of market conditions. Stop planning for retirement with your fingers crossed. Read Return on Principle, 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad. Available now.
On our recent show about the changing face of retirement, we mentioned this trend: baby boomers living and working aboard cruise ships. We also talked about the increasing number of boomers re-entering the workforce as long-haul truck drivers. Still others have joined the so-called camper force, that is, traveling around the country in RVs in pursuit of seasonal job opportunities. What all of these options have in common is that they satisfy a common retirement goal, and that is the desire to travel. Now, if travel is one of your own goals for your 60s and 70s, and you're one of a growing number of boomers who want to keep working full or part-time after retirement, you'll be happy to know you have many other options. The travel industry itself, for example, offers a number of job opportunities for retirees. With some of them, your employment is an even trade-off, meaning that you're working to cover your travel expenses in essence. But in other cases, you can actually earn income in addition to free or reduced costs of travel. So, are you qualified to teach English abroad, for example? If so, it's among one of the best paying post-retirement jobs available. And you might end up doing it in a country you've always wanted to visit. A similar option some baby boomers are pursuing is to work abroad as a tour guide. If you'd rather confine your travel to the United States, there are opportunities for older workers in many national parks, campgrounds, and again, at any number of companies around the country that offer seasonal employment. You can find more information about these opportunities on websites such as goabroad.com, coolworks.com, workcamper.com, and transitionsabroad.com. Now, as we mentioned earlier, another common incentive for boomers who want to keep working throughout retirement is self-fulfillment. You see, they feel they've spent their entire careers at a job that, although it may have been rewarding financially, wasn't really fulfilling on a personal level. So their desire to keep working is more about finding that sense of fulfillment. That's why for many, working for a nonprofit organization or an institution whose mission they feel strongly about actually takes precedent over things like golf or fishing in their retirement years. Now, obviously, in most of these situations, the work is voluntary or done in exchange for room and board. For example, while many people think of the Peace Corps as an outlet strictly for college-age activists, the organization reports that an increasing number of volunteers are over the age of 50. And groups such as Senior Corps and Volunteer Match help millions of older Americans find volunteer work opportunities in places like hospitals, schools, libraries, churches, zoos, and international relief organizations also. On the other hand, if one of your incentives to keep working in your retirement years is not just a traveler to feel fulfilled, but to actually earn extra money, then your options are also plentiful. In fact, because the baby boomer demographic is so large compared to younger age groups, there have probably never been more opportunities for older workers than there are today. And with that in mind, AARP, for example, now has a featured employers program in partnership with companies around the country that, in this case, they, with these companies, are actively seeking the experience and leadership of older workers. Many such companies today retain workers past retirement age on a consulting basis. Other retirees use their expertise in a particular field to start their own part-time consulting business. Consulting can give you a lot of flexibility and, because of your years of experience, oftentimes a very, very good income. Many people find it to be an ideal bridge between full-time work to full-time retirement. Other types of part-time work can also provide workers with a way to wean themselves off their work life while also providing income that allows them to feel better prepared for their eventual full-time retirement. In some cases, there are other timely part-time job opportunities that many baby boomers pursue, include becoming an Uber driver, telemarketing, and thanks to the dramatic increase in online shopping, package delivery. For others, as mentioned, the best option proves to be staying with their old job, oftentimes as a consultant or part-time. They retire and go right back. In fact, this trend itself has created an entire phenomenon that experts have deemed the boomerang workers movement. I'll talk more about that in just a minute, but right now it's time to welcome back Kerry Hannon, author of the book, Great Jobs for Everyone Over the Age of 50. So, Kerry, tell us, what makes a job more ideal in many cases for someone over 50 versus someone under 50 from your research?
I think the biggest piece of this is people at this stage in life, you want flexibility. You know, you want to have a sense that you have some control over your life and you have some autonomy. So what we're looking for are jobs that give us that opportunity, whether it's working, some from home, working part-time, flex schedules. There's all kinds of ways. But the biggest piece of it I really have found is that people just want to have some sense of control.
So what mistakes do you find that people make when they're over the age of 50? They're part of the income generation. They're part of our viewership here on the show. And they're looking to work part-time contract work or do something, not fully retire. What are some of the common mistakes? Let them know so that we can all avoid this.
Well, the biggest mistake, David, is people try to replicate their old job. And so don't get stuck in a moment. You need to move forward. Think of ways you can redeploy your existing skills into a new arena, a new field, and be open about salary. People get stuck on how much they have to earn and they get so insulted by the salaries. Get over it. think about what it is that you really want to do and look at ways to find value around the edges. You can negotiate for that flexibility we just talked about. You might, have more vacation time. They want to have a certain salary and a certain title. These are not important at this stage in life. You've done that. And also they think they're going to have a linear job as we had before. This is a time in life where you're going to, I think of it like a patchwork quilt, which is really fun. You might do a little of this, a little of that, do this for a short time and switch to doing something else, or do several things at the same time. So, open yourself up in your thinking, and they get stuck flatline intellectually. You've got to stay learning. You have got to be up to speed with technology. You have to be up to speed with the industry you want to work in. Don't lay back and think that what you've learned in the past is going to work today.
So not necessarily jumping back into the same job that you had, kind of just thinking in the box, doesn't necessarily mean giving up your skill set or throwing it down the drain, doing something totally different. You're saying think about how you can take your skill set and use it in a different way that might be more challenging, more fulfilling.
Absolutely. It's redeployment. It's not reinvention. And the other thing is, you really need to get out of your head and into the world. People will sit there at their computers shooting out resume for jobs or, cold calling things. What you need to do is get out and volunteer. Go do something so you don't have this gap in your resume that you've been doing nothing. Get out, volunteer for a cause you care about. You never know. You might find an opportunity right there. But what you're also doing is you're meeting people, you're networking. You never know what you might hear about.
Now, you mentioned finances before, so in the 40 seconds or so we have left in this block, tell our viewers, what are the 2 or 3 biggest mistakes you see people do with their finances that forces them essentially to go back to work once they've retired?
Well, I must say, David, this probably isn't your audience, but I talk to a lot of people around the country, and the biggest fear is they're going to outlive their money. They haven't paid attention. They haven't saved appropriately to this point. They haven't built in for this longevity bonus that we're living these longer lives.
Right.
They haven't thought about the cost of medical expenses moving forward. You really need to pay attention and do a retirement plan, look forward, and make sure you have a budget.
That's good advice. It's always good advice. Kerry, please stay with us for one more block. We want to have you back here for more. And you stay with us too. We have many more words of wisdom from our new friend, Kerry Hannon. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
David J. Scranton, Amazon bestselling author, money manager, and national TV host, is on a mission to educate baby boomers about the need to shift from growth to income. If you're at or near retirement, focusing on income over growth can make all the difference in the quality of your retirement. Each week, David educates America on his Newsmax TV show, The Income Generation, where he provides special reports and more to teach baby boomers about the income model. Call now for your free income kit from the Retirement Income Store, where baby boomers go for income.
Read David J. Scranton's groundbreaking new book, Return on Principle, 7 core values to help protect your money in good times and bad. Discover practical solutions to the financial challenges facing today's generation of retirees and near retirees. David Scranton's approach to financial planning is a holistic system designed for maximum protection, strategic growth, and reliable income regardless of market conditions. Available now.
Of course, most of us have heard about this trend called boomerang kids, those who move out of the house in their late teens, early 20s, only to move right back in a few years later. But there's another group of growing boomerangers now getting attention, and they're in their 60s. These are boomerang workers, retirees who return to work part-time or sometimes on a contract basis for the same employers where they formerly had full-time jobs. Some companies have even started formal programs in response to this trend. Aerospace Corporation, for example, which provides technical analysis for national security and commercial space programs, has one that's called Retiree Casual. The California-based company has roughly 3,700 employees who are mostly engineers, scientists, and technicians. Among them now are 300 so-called retiree casual employees who can work up to 1,000 hours a year, earning the same salary they did before retirement, prorated, of course, for their part-time status. These casuals in the program lets aerospace management keep well-qualified people that are ready when they need them. And for the workers, it's a great transitioning tool that lets them ease into retirement while continuing to earn some income. In a similar way, Blue Cross Blue Shield has the Blue Bring Back program, which lets managers request a retired former employee if there's a particular project or temporary assignment that requires someone who knows the company's culture or the company's procedures. In general, the boomerang worker trend has become so widespread that a new consulting industry has emerged in response to it. Matchmaker firms such as Your Encore actually act as a liaison between corporations looking for experts to handle pressing problems and skilled, what they call unretirees, wanting an occasional challenge and part-time income. Recently, the Workforce Institute at Kronos and WorkplaceTrends.com released a corporate culture and boomerang employee study. The national survey of more than 1,800 human resource professionals found that there's an increase in retirees returning to their companies and being greeted with open arms. Among the study's other findings, organizations and younger full-time workers alike are becoming more receptive to boomerang employees. Boomerangers in general are creating increased and unexpected competition for job seekers as the hiring market continues to get stronger and stronger. And companies are increasingly creating new strategies for maintaining relationships with retired employees. So there's absolutely no doubt that boomerang back into a company brings benefits to the employer and the employee alike. The most obvious one being the reduction of risk. Yes, things may have changed during the time of separation, but in many ways, the fear of the unknown is still greatly reduced for both sides. Now, in addition, a boomerang worker's orientation, training, and productivity is likely to be faster than that of a brand new hire. And according to an article by Harvard Business Review, companies cut costs by up to 50%. How? By employing a boomerang worker over a typical applicant. In addition, an increasing number of U.S. companies are relying on temp workers to keep their businesses running smoothly. And according to a recent survey, nearly half of employers asked said they plan to add temporary or contract workers to their ranks in the coming year. For many retirees, temp work proves to be ideal. The jobs can pay enough to bolster income from savings and Social Security, often without exceeding the limits that would require a reduction in Social Security payments. And if your Social Security payment is reduced to earnings, those benefits aren't really lost if you haven't yet reached full retirement age. Why? Because once you do, your payment will be increased again for the benefits withheld. We'll talk about that just a little bit later in the show. But you know, other benefits of temp work for retirees include the potential to transition back into full-time work if you so choose. Now, among those companies that said they plan to hire temporary workers in the coming year, 58% actually said they plan to move some of those workers into permanent roles. Temp work also creates a natural job search network that keys you into other opportunities. It can also expand your skill set and keep you up to date with new technologies and processes. As a result, you increase your marketability for other job opportunities, making it possible to find fulfilling and even better paying employment for as long as your health allows. But there are some important things to consider before just jumping out and boomeranging back to your old job or jumping into a new one, even on a part-time or temporary basis. We'll talk about some of these other factors in just a bit on the show. But right now, let's welcome back Kerry Hannon. Kerry, you know, it's interesting. I find that a lot of people, when they retire from their full-time job, actually do something entrepreneurial. It's like a new trend. Why is that? What causes that? Tell us a little bit about that and the pros and cons associated with it.
Well, you're absolutely correct. You know, in fact, the over 50 set is the biggest demographic starting businesses today. I mean, faster than anyone in their 20s and 30s. There's huge growth here. And why it is a couple of things. One, I think the job market is a little tough for people over 50, and they get sick of the rejection, and they say, you know what, I'm just going to be my own boss. I'm going to do my own thing. And that kind of gets them started on that path. I also think this is a time in life where we often pause, and then we've had life crises ourselves. We've had a health crisis, perhaps. We know people we've lost too soon. And we start and we say, okay, is this all there is? What can I be doing? And it really motivates you to start your own thing. And it's so much easier today than ever because you don't need bricks and mortar. You can start, you know, in a home office with your computer and have a virtual business going. So I think there's so many opportunities to start businesses today without a huge capital upfront investment.
You know, it's actually kind of funny because, of course, I've always been self-employed. I've always owned the company. I'm a certified flight instructor at a flight school. I do a bit of flight instruction just for ha-has. And it's funny, I actually think it's great to work for somebody. The pressure's off my back. I don't have to make any decisions. I just say, yes, boss, sure, whatever you want us to do, we'll do it. But you know, for many, it's the opposite. Many people have worked with somebody for their entire lives, have not made all those operational decisions. And now they get to retirement, and I think they want to be their own boss. They want to be able to control their own legacy. Are you finding that that's a big motivation also for entrepreneurship?
100%. You know, it really is controlling your own destiny and your legacy. And it's your chance. You may have had something you've always had this burning desire to do since you were young, or maybe it's a passion that's developed over the years. But these are really your years that if you've saved appropriately and you can do it financially, that a lot of people say, let me give it a shot, you know, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And I tell everyone, no rash moves. Go slowly. This is, you know, any successful entrepreneur I've talked to has taken 3 to 5 years to kind of build out their plan, to apprentice in moonlight, to do their research, to find mentors, do a good business plan. This does not happen overnight. So it's a process, and enjoy the ride.
So have you seen any statistics of success rates of businesses owned by people over 50 versus started under the age of 50? Any such statistics that give our viewers hope that all their real life experience and common sense could maybe increase their chance of success as an entrepreneur?
It is so true, because I think it is. And actually, you know, the seniors actually have, you know, more capital to get started with a business and a better network and so forth. And yes, in fact, I don't have the exact number at the top of my head, but I will say that SCORE, the Small Business Administration, has done research on this. And, you know, the average business has like a 5-year run, right? But with the senior starting businesses, their longevity of the businesses are growing. And it's because of this practical, it's not that they're risk averse, it's this practical approach to starting a business. It's not taking a flyer on something. It's a slow, methodical process. And it's also something that I think is interesting, and maybe we'll talk a little more about, is there's often a pairing up with a younger entrepreneur with an older entrepreneur.
Kerry, unfortunately, we're out of time. We need to leave it there. Kerry Hannon, author of Great Jobs for Everyone Over the Age of 50. We'll be right back here on The Income Generation.
David J. Scranton, Amazon bestselling author, money manager, and national TV host, is on a mission to educate baby boomers about the need to shift from growth to income. If you're at or near retirement, focusing on income over growth can make all the difference in the quality of your retirement. Each week, David educates America on his Newsmax TV show, The Income Generation, where he provides special reports and more to teach baby boomers about the income model. Call now for your free income kit from the Retirement Income Store, where baby boomers go for income.
Read David J. Scranton's groundbreaking new book, Return on Principle, 7 core values to help protect your money in good times and bad. Discover practical solutions to the financial challenges facing today's generation of retirees and near retirees. David Scranton's approach to financial planning is a holistic system designed for maximum protection, strategic growth, and reliable income regardless of market conditions. Available now.
So while continuing to work or going back to work in your retirement years can be rewarding on many levels, there are some important things to think about and to consider before making the leap. In fact, we've already discussed one. The income from a part-time job can actually reduce your Social Security benefits in the short term. If you return to work prior to full retirement age and earn more than a certain amount of income, the Social Security Administration will deduct $1 from your benefit payments for every $2 you earn above the annual limit. You can find out more details about how working affects your Social Security benefit at ssa.gov. Now, another important thing to think about is how returning to work impacts your tax plan. For example, many retirees who take part-time jobs set their budgets based upon their gross income, when they really should be looking at how much they'll keep after taxes. Another common mistake people make is to assume they won't pay any taxes on their Social Security benefits, when, in fact, up to 50% of your benefits can be taxable in some cases, and in other cases, up to 85% of those Social Security benefits can be taxable to you. Another important consideration, of course, is health care. Medicare benefits don't kick in until age 65, so if you want to transition into part-time work before that, you'll obviously want to make sure that you won't lose your health care coverage by doing so. Part-time jobs that provide medical benefits can be extremely hard to come by. But after you turn age 65 and Medicare kicks in, it can be helpful to have additional health insurance through an employer to cover gaps in coverage, even at that stage. And don't forget about expenses. There are hidden costs to working that can add up quickly, including costs of commuting, costs of parking, maybe special clothing you might have to buy, dry cleaning bills, lunches, and so on and so forth. So before taking a job, please make sure that you'll make enough after taxes to cover those expenses. Finally, make sure you understand the pension equation. Many pension plans calculate benefits using a formula based in part on your salary in the years before you retire. If you decide to trade your higher paying job for a part-time one at the same company, it can make a big dent in what you otherwise would have received for your pension if you happen to have one. Now, unfortunately, many people don't realize this potential downside until they've already moved on to a part-time position. So, if you do have a pension, it's a good idea to discuss the issue early on with an administrator and find out for certain whether or not your pension will be affected and by how much. And as always, it's also a great idea to discuss any plan to return to work and its potential impact on your overall retirement with a qualified financial advisor, especially one who specializes in retirement income. Now, let's welcome our next guest to the show, Al Caicedo. Al Caicedo is founder and president of EST Summit Group in Detroit, Michigan, and he specializes in working with people who are retired or near retirement, focusing on conservative income-generating investment strategies. Most importantly, Mr. Caicedo is one of my best personal friends in the entire world, as well as a friend of the income generation. So, Al, it's great to have you back here on the show.
Hey, David. Thank you for having me back.
Now, Detroit, of course, has been one of those cities that struggled a little bit economically in recent years with automakers and layoffs and other things. You know, I'm sure you've seen even a higher percentage of your clientele who've wanted to go back to work part-time once they've retired, perhaps even than I have. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, you know, not just here in Detroit. I mean, the jobs report came out and said that right now in this country, about 19% of all retirees are going back to work, and that's projected to be in 2022 up to 32%. What's happened here in our area is that we did have, you know, when we went through the 2008 and a lot of the companies went through bankruptcies and everything else like that, there was a lot of early releases. There was a lot of people being forced into retirement. So we have a pretty young retired force here in this state. Mm-hmm. It's not odd to see people retiring in their mid to late 50s. And for whatever reason, either the desire or the need, we see them coming back into the workforce. And that's something that we have seen here, not just with the big three, but also with the government employees that we have in this area.
Yeah, tell us, you know, we've got about a minute or so left in this segment. Tell us about the government aspect. I know you worked for the federal government when you got out of the military many, many years ago. I shouldn't say it that way because you look a lot younger than you are, but I only know the truth. So tell us about the government employees coming back and what you've seen.
Oh yeah, it's really a big industry that's been created here. We have a lot of defense contractors, and their main population is made up really of people that were formerly working as civil servants for the military. Once they retire from there, they bring them on as contractors. And I personally have a big group of clients that have really created almost a full second career by going back and working for these contractors that are now working for the government. And the beautiful thing about that is most of them have like complete flexibility and control of all their schedules. So it's been something that has really worked well for a lot of my clients and a lot of people in this area.
Trend that you've seen. All right, great. Al, stay with us. You stay with us too. We'll be right back here on The Income Generation. Let's welcome back our good friend, my good friend, Al Caicedo from EST Summit Group in Detroit, Michigan. So have you seen this even with ex-government folks that perhaps worked with you back when you were in your 20s, people that you've stayed in touch with that have retired and and now go back to civil service jobs as a contract workers, for example?
Oh, absolutely. People that started with me in my 20s, I worked for the federal government for about 9 years, and I've been doing this for the last 25 years. And it's interesting to see a lot of them come back now as retirees that are now my clients. But the first place they look at, they're really highly sought after. As a matter of fact, it's not even them looking for stuff. It's mostly the contractors, the federal defense contractors coming out and really trying to grab that talent pool that gives them an in into the federal government today.
I get that. That actually makes sense. So you said to me on another note that some of the big three there in Detroit, you'd think that, okay, there are the managers, and then there are people who work in the assembly plant, actually, rolling up their sleeves, doing the hard work. And you think that those are the people maybe that would go back to work more once they retired because maybe they didn't make as much money. But you said it's actually the opposite. It's actually the managers, almost like the higher level they were in the big three, the more apt they were to go back and do some type of work during retirement.
Yeah,
is that because of the money? What is that?
Well, need might be one. The need to stay active is another. However, it's just that when we have a person that's been working the lines and for so many years, I think the last thing they ever want to do now when they're in their retirement years is go back to that work world. But what we do see in the consulting world is that they're tapping into the mental aspect of these individuals now. And what they're looking for is to bring back some of that, some of that management skills that they had before and bringing them back through contractors. That makes sense. What the line workers do is very, very tough. And, let's face it, they don't have a cushy office job like my good friend Caicedo does. So in the 45 seconds or so that we have left, give us 2 good pieces of advice for people that are watching, members of the income generation that are getting really close to retirement and might be thinking about this. Well, number one, I think you need to find out what your passion is and what you really want to do. You want to make sure that you're looking at your finances. If you're looking to find a job, is it because of need or is it because of want? If it's because of want, make sure it's something that you really have a passion for. If you always wanted to be a writer, if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, if you wanted to teach, if you wanted to go into advertisement or anything like that, I think it really comes down to really understanding where you are today. Really getting a good idea of the type of individual you are. I know I could probably never see myself retired. I know for sure you'll never retire. Right, exactly. And Al, I got to tell you, to me, that's what makes you such a great financial advisor. It's not all about the numbers. It's about knowing the person. It's about the soft stuff. I love advisors like you that are just a great coach of retirees. We have to end it there. Al, thank you very much once again. I'd like to thank both of our guests for joining us for another episode of The Income Generation. Of course, I'd also like to thank you, our new and returning viewers. There are a number of things that define the baby boomer generation, things that those of us who are part of this generation have in common. One of those is a very strong work ethic and the desire to engage in work that we find meaningful and rewarding. Not just financially rewarding, but rewarding on a personal level. This common denominator has allowed many of us, including yours truly, to enjoy successful, fulfilling, and highly motivating careers. As a result, baby boomers such as these you're looking at now have changed the face of the global workforce and job market and actually have changed the world in many ways. And it isn't easy to simply disengage from that kind of drive and passion once you reach a certain age, which is why so many boomers are choosing not to disengage. In record numbers, they're boomeranging back to their old jobs on their terms, launching new careers or finding other ways to satisfy their desire to keep working. And as we've seen, there are many benefits to this trend for both older workers as well as employers. For the workers, the benefits can be psychological, emotional, and yes, very often financial. But even as members of the income generation remain committed to earning income for as long as possible and delaying their full transition out of the workforce, it's important to keep a few things in mind. We've discussed a number of those on today's show. Make sure you understand how your full or part-time job after retirement will impact your Social Security benefits, how it will impact your tax strategies, how it will impact your pension if you're lucky enough to have one.
And make sure that you've counted for expenses and healthcare costs. And most importantly, make sure you start or continue working with a qualified advisor, ideally one who specializes in retirement income, to ensure that your work income is properly integrated into your overall financial strategy with other retirement income sources. As an advisor myself, I know from experience that one of the potential downsides of continuing to work well into your retirement years is that it can distract you from making that strategic shift that's so important in your 50s or 60s. That is the psychological shift in your portfolio from growth to income and asset protection. Today, more than ever, I believe that shift is absolutely crucial regardless of whether your plan is to embrace full-time retirement or, like so many baby boomers, continue finding motivation, fulfillment, and income on the job. Thanks once again for watching. So if you're close to retirement and you really want to know how to protect and maximize your money, it's absolutely essential that you stay informed and up to date. And guess where? That's right. Right here is where you can do it on the Income Generation. I'm David Scranton. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.